You're listening to the Greeks Gridiron, live with Ethan Hristodoulou.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Greeks Gridiron. I am Ethan Hristodoulou, and today we begin making picks for the final week number 10 of the USFL, the 2023 season, regular season that is, wrapping up with playoffs just 1 week away. The theme is win or go home for essentially everybody within the league. The Showboats have a very slim chance, and a lot of people are looking at them as already eliminated because the amount of scenarios they need to go their way in order to make the playoffs is a very large amount and not necessarily the most likely per se. So it is win or go home for everybody, but the Showboats are mathematically speaking, I would say very close to already being eliminated, but everyone has a shot still. All 8 teams do have an opportunity, as the Stallions are the only team right now to have secured a playoff spot, and everyone else is still battling for those final 3. We're going to dive right into the thick of things, so make sure you comment down below. Let me know who you think is going to win this weekend, specifically into this video. We're talking Saturday's games, so make sure you let me know thoughts, opinions on the games. What do you think the final score is going to be? Who's going to have big games? I'd love to hear all that and more from you. But diving right in with the very first game of the final week of the regular season at 1 p.m. Eastern time at Tom Benson Hall of Fame Stadium in Canton, Ohio. You'll catch this one on the USA Network. The Pittsburgh Maulers are taking on the New Jersey Generals here. As the Generals getting back DeAndre Johnson last week, looking like a completely different unit with him under center than what we had seen from them the last few weeks, where we talked about just a lack of identity. It felt like it was snatched away from them when DeAndre Johnson went down with his injury, but he's back. He lit it up last week and has put the Generals in a prime spot to find their way into the playoffs. Now, the Pittsburgh Maulers, on the other hand, for them, they must show up offensively if they want any chance of finding their way into the playoffs. This is a team that has struggled with the offensive line all season long and have been settling for field goals a lot more often than I think any football team would want to. So there's a lot on the table for this Maulers offense here, going up against a Generals team that can move the football fairly effectively, especially when DeAndre Johnson is the one playing under center. Now, looking at the Generals and what I will be watching from them in this game and things I think they need to do in order to come out victorious. The offense. DeAndre Johnson is back. He looked great, but do not shy away from what you are known for, and that is your ground and pound style of running game. With DeAndre Johnson under center, you can get back to the kind of trickery that you were doing before with him, whether it's quarterback, designed runs, run pass options, whatever it may be, the read option. You can do a lot when DeAndre Johnson is under center, so stick to your guns. I know that the Maulers are one of the best run defenses in the USFL, but going back to week 2 when you first played them, you did manage 112 yards on the ground altogether with a rushing touchdown. So you have proven that you can move the football against them, and you want to make sure you're running that football, even if it's not necessarily effective, but enough that you're forcing the defense to come up a little bit closer so you can open up the top and hit that defense, which has been about average when it comes to defending the pass, depending on the week that you're watching the games, and hit them over the top and do what you do best, and that's make big chunk plays through the air with DeAndre Johnson under center. As for the defensive side, I think it's pretty simple with how you have to beat the Maulers offense. It's pretty much just contain Troy Williams at this point. He has been he's like the lifeline of the offense, basically. Without him, this Maulers offense, I have no idea where it would be, to be completely honest with you. So without him, this offense does not really go. So if you can contain Troy Williams, keep him inside the pocket as much as possible, or at least just limit the opportunities he has to burn your defense with his legs, the more successful I think this defense is going to be. And you want to make sure you're really winning up front. Like I said, offensive line of the Maulers has not looked great all season long. If you bully them up front, you can get sacks, you can get those tackles for loss, you can stuff them at the line of scrimmage in the run game. They have 30 sacks allowed this season altogether, which is the most in the USFL. Be aggressive, dominate up front, contain Troy Williams, and it's a pretty simple recipe for success, I would say, against the Maulers offense that has not really been great this year. As for the Maulers side, what I'll be looking from them and what I think they need to do. The Maulers offensively, first off, running back Madre London looked pretty solid last week. He found some success, and I think you want to try to double down on that. You have not had a ton of success running the football at all this season. I think your running backs altogether average roughly around like 3.2 yards, 3.3 yards a carry, if that. That might even be overestimating. But last week, Madre London on 12 attempts had 51 yards off of 12 total carries, averaging 4.2 yards per carry. So with that in mind, you found a little bit of success running the football. Maybe try to double back on that and see what you can do this weekend against a pretty stout and pretty solid, I would say, defense, arguably by some the best defense in the USFL in the New Jersey Generals. The other thing you need to do is keep your passing game short and quick. I think it has become abundantly clear now after 30 sacks on the season allowed. This offensive line cannot pass protect for a very long time, so you need to keep your routes short and simple. Get the ball into your playmakers' hands and just let them do the rest of the work, but get the ball out as quickly as possible. If you keep your passing game quick, opens things up for the run game, and if you're finding success there, maybe Madre London can have another game even somewhat similar to last week, because if he's averaging 4.2 yards a carry, I like your chances a lot more than if you're averaging barely 3.1 along those lines. Defensively, though, front seven, their big task is obviously going to be, one, containing DeAndre Johnson, but two, just dealing with the entire rushing attack that this New Jersey Generals team can deploy, especially with DeAndre Johnson healthy and under center. You have got to slow them down in some capacity. Second thing this defense really needs to do, that secondary, like I talked about, the Generals, they like to ground and pound you, and then once your defense kind of creeps a little bit closer to slow down that rushing attack, likes to hit you over the top deep, you need to keep the plays in front of you if you are the secondary of the Pittsburgh Maulers. Mark Gilbert, Keith Gibson, Arnold Tarpley, Eli Walker, all those guys, you need to make sure you are keeping these passing plays in front of you because, again, you don't want to get lulled into that trap. I feel like that is like the specialty right now of the New Jersey Generals is, okay, they're running the football. They can't throw the football. Now at this point, everything that they've been doing has been within 10 yards, and then boom, they hit you for a 50-yard play to Cam Eccles-Looper or Alonzo Moore. Do not get lulled into that. We don't need to worry about them throwing the football. They're just going to keep pounding the rock. No, they will hit you over deep if you forget what they can do. So make sure you are keeping those pass plays in front of you if you are that secondary. As for who I think comes out victorious in this game, I'll be completely honest with everyone. I'm not really giving the Maulers a ton of hope in this one. I've been somebody who has tried to root for the Maulers all season long, and I have been burned picking them to win multiple games this season over and over and over again. And after seeing what DeAndre Johnson brought back to this offense last week, I don't know if they can keep pace with what they've got going on over there in New Jersey. If their offense even looks half as good as last week, I think the Maulers are going to be having a very tough game and a very tough task to figure out. And I really like the Generals here, so I think I'm going to go with the New Jersey Generals here, winning this game at a score of 23-13. I think we maybe see like a touchdown from the Maulers and then a couple of field goals, maybe 3 or more, something like that along those lines. But I feel like it's going to be a pretty good day for the offense of the Generals. I think that, with DeAndre Johnson rested now coming back from this injury as well, he, got a couple weeks off there to recover from that concussion and get himself back and ready to go. We're going to see a rejuvenated DeAndre Johnson, and again, the passing defense of the Pittsburgh Maulers at times has been average or so to maybe above average, and that concerns me with a guy who's going to come in with a point to prove that this is his team and they belong in the playoffs within DeAndre Johnson and those Generals. Now, looking at the second game here on Saturday, we have ourselves the Birmingham Stallions heading into Memphis against the Showboats. The last time these two teams played, the Showboats got absolutely demolished as the Stallions routed them from start to finish. It was not really ever close. 4 p.m. Eastern time at Simmons Bank Liberty Stadium, this time in front of the Memphis Showboats home crowd. You can catch this game on Fox. Stallions come in as the only team in the USFL right now with a secured playoff spot, and we're going to have the South Division hosted in Birmingham, so props to them for securing that. And the Showboats, like I had mentioned earlier, still technically in the playoff race, but they need a lot to go their way. So you're coming into this game basically with a point to prove that we can take you down. And what happened, what was it, in week 2 when those two teams played, was a bit more of a fluke than anything else. But they are coming off of a massive blowout to the New Orleans Breakers last week, and I am a little bit concerned about what I saw. Now, the Stallions, a couple of things you need to keep in mind going into this game here offensively. Pass protection needs to be on point. For all the struggles that we've seen from the Showboats throughout the season, the defense looked really good the last handful of weeks prior to this past week against the Breakers. The Showboats are tied for first in the USFL with 24 sacks altogether, so you need to make sure you're protecting your MVP candidate, Alex Magoo, who has been running away with that award this season. And the second thing is maybe focus a little bit more on the ground game and more specifically on CJ Marable. Listen, I'm all for letting Alex Magoo do his thing. Let him cook. Let him play the way he's been playing. I mean, he's been unbelievable all season long. He's only had like a handful of quarters where things have not looked great. And following those quarters, he's always bounced back and made everyone basically forget about the mistakes he's made. Showboats passing defense, though, 11 interceptions, tied for first on the season. They're also allowing about 181 yards per game. Just make sure you're taking care of the football. They are very aggressive, and they love to go after the football when it's in the air. But, again, a team that's about average or so at best defending the pass. Let him do what he does, but focus on that ground attack. CJ Marable's been a really strong running back for you, especially the last few weeks, so don't forget that he's there, and he's been opening things up for Alex Magoo. Defensively, I think it's pretty simple how you stop the Showboats offense because it has not been great pretty much all season long. It's really been that defense that carried them through those 5 wins and put them where they are right now at 5-4. If you make things difficult for Cole Kelly, you pretty much are able to shut this team down. The running game is kind of what really started to spark the last couple of weeks prior to last week's loss to the Breakers. And if you can shut down the running game and force Cole Kelly to win with his arm, you kind of put them in a really tough spot, and you saw what happened last week. 3 interceptions, and the Breakers, took one to the house with Vontae Diggs. Listen, I'm not going to sit here and just completely write off the Showboats because you never know in the USFL. I think it is a very unpredictable league, especially with the way things have kind of unfolded this back half of the season. But if you shut down the run and force Cole Kelly to win with his arm, I don't think you're having a great day in Memphis. On top of that, finally, the fan favorite has returned. Scooby Wright is back. This defense is going to be electric this week. I feel like the fans the last couple of weeks have just been shouting and chanting. Hell, I even saw a petition go up from change.org, change.com, whatever it is. I signed the petition to get Scooby Wright back off of the injured reserve list. But he's back. He's playing. We saw the Stallions tweeted out that he is on the active roster this week. I am looking for a big game defensively from this Birmingham Stallions team. As for the Showboats, listen, I know I'm not really feeling too good about the Showboats going into this game here. And if you want to win this game, 2 things have got to happen. You have got to get back to running the football. You're without Kareth White again for this game now, or well, not again. He only had 3 carries last week, and now you don't have him at all. Ezra Gray is going to be a running back 1, and Juwan Washington is going to take the running back 2 spot. Stallions run defense, though. This is a team where if you go back to the run, you can find some success. They've allowed 118 yards per game this season, which is second most in the USFL. It has kind of been the weak point of them, but with Scooby Wright coming back, things could look a little bit different with how stout that front 7 might be. But overall, get back to running the football. I'm not saying take the ball out of Cole Kelly's hands, but don't make him have to throw 49 passes in a game because you're going to get something along the lines of 3 interceptions like we saw last week. And on top of that, kind of what I talked about with the Maulers, shorten up the passing game, quick, short, effective routes, comeback routes, slants, flats, you name it, something along those lines to get the ball in the hands of Derek Dillon, Ryan McDaniel, Vinny Papali. Get the ball in your playmakers' hands and let them do just that. Make plays. Don't force Cole Kelly to, sit back in the pocket and try to dial up some crazy plays to dice up a defense that has been pretty good against the pass. Get the ball quickly in your playmakers' hands and let them do their playmaking things. As for the defense, it's going to be tough, but I've been saying this the last few weeks for any team that's going up against the Stallions. You've got to find a way to contain Alex Magoo, and more specifically, just try to keep him inside the pocket. Set the edges. Don't let him get out and, create plays with his legs, whether it's running the football or extending plays so he can make some absurd throw. He has been killing teams when he has more time in the pocket or he has an escape route out of the pocket to make plays, whether it's, again, with the ball in his hands or through the air, finding an open receiver. You've got to contain Alex Magoo. Secondly, and I talked about it a little bit with the Stallions here, respect CJ Marable as a running back. The last few weeks, I would say going back to like week 6, he has really caught on and has brought a little more juice to this offense. Obviously, everyone looks at the receiving core that they have over there, Jay Sternberger, Davian Davis, you have Deion Kane, but CJ Marable, since week 6 now, has a whopping 336 yards total. That's on the ground and through the air. We're not talking special team stuff, just specifically on offense. He has been a bit of a problem for teams, and I think he's kind of flying under the radar despite doing all that. He has had some really solid games and has opened things up for the Stallions offense even more, allowing them to become even more dangerous because now you have a guy out of the backfield that you can throw to as well, never mind with a receiving group that has been playing very well on top of it. As for who I think is going to win, I feel like if you've been watching this, you probably kind of know the direction I'm going here. It's not too hard to decipher. I'm feeling the Stallions on this one here, so I am going to go with the Birmingham Stallions for the victory. I am really concerned after last week what we saw against the got the Stallions on my mind here talking about them, against the New Orleans Breakers. I don't know if they have it in the tank to be able to keep up with this Stallions team right now and just how hot they are. I picked the Showboats last week, and I can't believe in hindsight I did, but I picked them to beat the Breakers, and what a silly mistake that was. And I'm not going to make that mistake again. And this is no offense to the Showboats fans. You know, it was really fun watching that 5-game winning streak, but I think the wheels might start to fall off, and it's going to be quite a crash and burn, considering if they haven't already after what we saw last week. I don't think this season ends well. And again, playoff hopes are there, but they are like slim next to none. And I don't want to say you're not really playing for anything other than just trying to get some sort of revenge after the smacking you took earlier in the season getting blown out. So I'm going to take the Stallions. I have them winning pretty handedly as well, 28-13. I think we see a lot from the Stallions group to try to make a statement and a point to everyone within the USFL that we're back and we're ready to run it back for another championship. But those are my picks for Saturday. A lot to get into, of course. For Sunday's games, I'll have that out later today, so make sure you stick around. Don't forget to tune into that as well. But comment down below, again, your winners, score predictions, all that. What do you think of my thoughts on these two games here? I would love to discuss with you all in that comment section. But thank you for watching. If you've made it to the end of the video, I greatly appreciate it. I'll see you all next time. Have a good one.